taller than them, so let me adjust. Somebody, when he said a friend to hold me back, you felt that, and I'm praying for you. Y'all need to stop all that fighting. Her essence was solar system, a universe unexplored but seemingly conquered by travelers who sought to use gravity against her. They orbited around her beauty, working double time to convince them and her that she was merely an object. And what's terrible is, I really thought that you knew better. I thought that there was enough oxygen out there for your brain to function properly, but instead you left me to wonder if you saw her eyes as Neptune. Dark, cold, and windy without the anchor of your orthodoxy, though to me sometimes your orthopraxy seemed as worldly as earth. Did you see her as a queen, as somebody to love? Did you see the Mercury in her? Or did you put her in a box where only the beast sat? Earn her way into your good graces is what she had to do, while you claim that you worship he who created the sun. Hey, are you in reverse? I know she didn't come here on a spaceship, but you were well-read, planet or not. How do you explain Venus? How do you condemn the machine that brought her here but still use its parts? How do you let they and them make excuses for you, knowing that their maybes may be wrong? Like, maybe you bought her so the others wouldn't. Maybe you fed her good and kept her out of them fields. Maybe your wife did her hair and made all of her appeals. Maybe you loved her deeply and y'all were caught in relational bliss. Or maybe she was your property to do with her what you wish. I'm not convinced. How do profundities about God live on the backside of the receipt? Neat and freehand, grandiose portraits of heaven come down and its implications on the backside of heaven ignored, causing confusion for today and defenses by the saints. Because if heaven has hooray and forgiveness is your state, do we look at all of the page of the visions that you prayed? Is it senseless to plead your case if there's Venus's life at stake? Was she sister or was she slave? Was she goods or imago Dei? Because you ain't left much for us to say or even for us to speculate. Because your pen screams out you're saved, but this action yells constant hate. Because her blackness was on display, not as magic, but as a slave, not as beauty, but as a slave, not as human, but as a slave, not as good, but as a slave. Now I see why God relays his disgust with how we take other people and then degrade them down to worthless remains, because the radius of the earth from your pen could not maintain enough distance for this division that you allowed to reign. But it's senseless to make the fiction that God is inhumane, because the furthest point on earth from one side of that page was the other side of that page. And Mr. Edwards, while you were out here glorying in the fact that you were bought for a price, you wrote sermons on the flip side of a receipt of an enslaved girl that you bought for a price. And the flagrance of this one, it shocks me still, because some people tell me to move past it or get over it, because we all sin, and that's real. They tell me he was a man of his time so that I might just chill, but I'm still a little confused, because it takes some skill for you to preach it good and teach it good and never change your route. Out in the forest praying while Venus slaving as she clean your house. All of the stuff that they did to Negroes back then that they did not care for. I just wonder if she had a face that you abhorred, and what does that mean for a young black Christian brother like me? Hair nappy, soul happy, spirit liberated and free, because it just seems that everybody has an excuse for both sides of that receipt. Yes, everybody seems to have an excuse for both sides of that receipt. Jonathan Edwards, I have to admit that I still don't know what to do with you. When I learned that you had slaves back then because it was just usual. You bought an enslaved girl named Venus and wrote sermons on the back of her receipt. And I hate that I want to love you, but because of the blood of Jesus, maybe we'll talk about it if we meet.